Okay, good evening. Welcome to Council. Monday, March 12, 2018. Called the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Normally we have our student councillors read off our municipal safety share, so we'll have Councillor Gingras maybe read off tonight this municipal safety share.
Okay, so safety share is your home safe when you go on vacation? So lots of people go on vacation with March break, lots of people are away already. And people worry about their house being safe while they're away. So here's a few tips for securing your home. Before you leave, check every door and window to make sure that everything is locked and sealed. Make sure that you have no spare keys lying around that are hidden under a mat or a rock. Set timers on lights outside of your house. Make sure that your newspapers and mail are picked up or put on hold. Leave some blinds or drapes open. If you make it appear more normal, it is less obvious that you are away. Arrange to have a trusted family member, neighbor, or friend to check on your home. Going on a vacation is an excellent reminder to ensure you have an updated inventory of household goods, which may include appliances, jewelry, firearms, and other valued items. If you have any cash, jewelry, or any other valuable items in your home, take them out and put them in a safety deposit box. It costs money for this service, but it is far better than if someone were to break into your home and find your valuables. Set timers on electronics inside your home and put one on a lamp or even a radio that makes it look like somebody's at home.
Good. Thank you for that report. I didn't say turn off your mobile devices before the actual safety share, because I think it's important that people at home realize that you don't advertise on Facebook or social media that you're actually going out of town for the weekend or for a week's holidays, so that everybody, not only the friends you're talking to, but the friends of their friends and friends of their friends and friends of their friends, you know what I mean? Thousands of people get the message that you're out of town, so it's a wide open invitation for your house. So with that being said, thank you for that, and we will shut off our mobile devices as we get into the meeting. Okay, right off the bat, any additional deletion to the agenda? Hearing none?
No, actually, Your Worship, we have the deletion of the delegation.
Right, oh yeah, so yeah, Jessica won't be in this evening. She had something come up. And of course, I should incorporate item 11, report of appointed member of boards. So Councillor Debussy will give us an update on the library board. It's under 11. So with that being said, I do have the motion here. The Council hereby accepts the agenda for Monday, March 12, 2018 as a regular meeting of Council. So amended. I moved by Councillor Gingras, seconded by Councillor Debussy, and I'll just rotate as that's fair. It's only two. Councillor Fox couldn't make it, and Councillor Lake is sitting on the beach somewhere.
Don't say that.
Or oh yeah, jeez. Jeez, both of them are in town here at the beach. Okay, all in favor? 3, thank you. Okay, with that being said, I ask for any disclosure of interest. Hearing none. I do have the minutes motion here from the previous meeting of council to be adopted. Council hereby adopts the regular meeting of council held on Monday, February 12, 2018. And the closed meeting of council was held on Monday, February 12, 2018, and circulated amended. Moved by Councillor Debussy, second by Councillor Gingras. Any errors or omissions on those minutes? Hearing none, call a question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And as I stated, we did have a delegation coming in tonight to talk about food strategy and research and network within the Northwest, and we'll have Jessica come back at a following meeting. Council reports. We will give a verbal update to myself. So Councillor Foxbury, CEO Darryl Skrzynski, and myself went to Toronto to represent the municipality and talk about a few different items in regards to our concerns, and we met with various ministers through the delegations, the Ministers of Seniors, Demetriel, and Minister of Northern Development Mines Gravel, Minister of Housing Milchin, and Minister of Finance. We met with Parliamentary Deputy Minister Vaughn Baker. All these were meeting in regards to talk about the supportive housing funding model. We made our case very clear that we want to be a leader within the Northwest, and I think it was a great pilot program and a great model for them to adopt. They all seem very keen on it, and we believe that we should get some traction in regards to that project going forward. So we're just waiting for comments back on that. We also had the opportunity to meet with Minister Ballard for the Ministry of Environment to discuss the finalization of the transfer of the mill site to the municipality, so we can get moving on the economic opportunities that that site presents. So he assured us that he would have somebody on his staff follow up with the Thunder Bay office and working with Daryl to make sure that those issues got resolved going forward with that project. Of course, there was a smaller than normal attendance of OGRA because OGRA and Roma have split, and a lot of the actual presentations and the educational sessions were kind of quiet and slow. I took in a couple, of course, and some of the keynote speakers as well with the main hall. And one big one for us was, for me, I think, what Premier and I listened to there in the PC caucus, and they were having a bit of a struggle. The NDP, Andrew Horvat, wasn't there, but she was on Monday afternoon. We missed her, but we just some of the, when our meetings were in conjunction with some of the timelines, some of these events were happening. Took in a couple. One of the key ones was the costing and sharing of dollars from the marijuana taxation, and the government just released the news that they would be sharing with the municipalities. So we will see a share minimum of $10,000 up to, depending on size of your municipality and the households within your municipality. That's how they'll give out those dollars. So that's good news. So they did hear us in that regard. With an election year, I was kind of disappointed, not from the municipal's point of view, but from NOMA's point of view, as sitting as a NOMA board member representing Marathon, there were really a lack of representation both from provincial leadership, the governing party, as well as the PCs. And again, going back to what I was saying about the NDP, we didn't have a meeting with the NDP. They weren't in attendance other than their leader. We met with PC caucus, 2 members from the PC caucus. The governing Liberals, we met with 2 ministers and 2 deputy ministers at Queen's Park. It was very weak, I thought, for NOMA representing 37 municipalities in the Northwest election year. Very disappointing. So overall, OGRA was good for the municipality marathon. NOMA not so well. We did get the message across. NOMA brought down various issues, and some of these issues obviously were long-term health and proposed amalgamation of the health units. They assured us they will not be amalgamating the health units in the Northwest. These were a voluntary decision that was done in the South, which makes sense. When you have 2 health units that are an hour apart, it makes sense to amalgamate them. In our area, the geographic size was not good, so they assured us that that was not going to happen. Talked about intercity community bus services. They announced a funding model that was going to the eastern part of the northeastern part of the province for Northern Ontario. This announcement was made in Thunder Bay, which is really unique. The announcement was made in Thunder Bay that we thought we'd see funding, but the funding went to Ontario Northland, and so we're fighting on that issue again. That was just, I think everybody was kind of amazed on that. The continuation of the assistant deputy crown attorney, as well as a crown attorney placement in Fort Frances, Rainy River, we were assured that they would have that. He did assure us, the deputy minister assured us that they would increase that to a year to attract somebody more stable. If you go to a 6-month contract, it's hard to get somebody to come and apply for that job. So we're pleased with that movement on that file. And then, of course, there was a couple other ones with the energy, and of course the species at risk. The energy was a big one in regards to the Greenstone corridor with the radio line, as well as the Pickle Lake and the Red Lake radio lines, as well as the First Nations getting off of diesel. So they heard our argument, but again, these arguments have been on the table for a long time. So I don't know if Daryl had any more to update on that.
I think administratively, the big thing coming forward, obviously, is the regulation around asset management. And the province moving forward with legislating that municipalities need to undertake that. So it's no longer going to be a voluntary exercise municipalities undertake. It's going to be regulated. So for a small municipality, you know, we're obviously ahead of the curve. We have an asset management plan and are moving forward in terms of even making it more detailed with respect to our plan and our infrastructure and our long-term requirements. So this will be coming forward as legislation before the House sets before the election, and that was a lot of the focus on a lot of the workshops that both myself and Works and Operations Manager Hishka took in. And from our perspective administratively also, the OGRA conference is a really good one because there are a lot of vendors that we utilize from the equipment perspective, you know, things as simple as culverts. We're able to make those types of contacts, which ultimately saves us money down the road. So overall, I think administratively it was a good conference, and We did have a lot of productive sessions for the municipality this year, focusing on supportive housing and the mill site. So we'll be completing follow-up with those ministries within the next couple of weeks, and hopefully we get some productive responses from the issues we put on the table.
Yeah, good. Councillor Debuchy?
Just a question about the asset management, and I know we have had it for a while and have used it, or almost say used it, but it's a document that's been in our inventory. Are there municipalities that are still not along the asset management plan?
Well, there's a number of small municipalities when you factor in how many there are in Ontario that just don't have number. There's really two things that limit their ability to complete it. Is one is staff resources, and number two is just the cost of it. Even just to do the plan. So what the province is coming out with the regulation is there will be a funding envelope for completion of the plans. We're already ahead of that, so it really doesn't fundamentally affect us. But it is something that's going to be tied to all the future funding. So things like OSIF, you need to have a asset management plan when you submit your OSIF funding.
And just to follow up to that one there, was there any issue, and I understand there's a difference between passing the legislation and then actually having the regulations developed that will mandate what the act entails. Was there any indication about input for that regulation? Because if they look at it as a percentage of your annual budget that you need to spend, or if there's a recommendation based on those numbers, I mean, I won't say it's not a wise plan, but I mean, it really will tie municipalities and saying if you have to spend 10% of your budget on your assets or some kind of asset management, that's really going to table off, because in our sense, when we review the budget, most of our capital is what we can tweak. Okay. So was there any issue?
The current regulation as it's been introduced doesn't dictate to municipalities on the level of investment that they have to put into capital infrastructure, because obviously, we're no different. That's a challenge. But really, what the legislation says is that outside of receiving OSIF funding, if you are applying for additional infrastructure funding, let's say to replace a bridge, it needs to be identified as a priority within your asset management plan.
And I think, honestly, once you have the plan in place and it's a working, living document, it's something that you can annually look at and say, okay, where does this bridge fit within our priorities, And if obviously it sits at the top of the priority list, we just don't have the money. It has to get bumped back to a B or a C as we do in our budgets, but that's then the decision council has to make each and every year. Hopefully it's not a bridge in our community because we don't have any, but there are a lot of communities with a lot of bridges, right, that are faced with, but I mean in regards to a new vehicle or infrastructure, roads or pipes in the ground, we each time we turn down something in regards to cabinet because we can't afford it without coming up with the dollars. We put a risk in place for more damage or more cost down the road, right? Councillor Bush, you want to follow up?
No.
Okay. Anything else? Good. Thanks for that. Okay, up next, see a report on the numbering bylaw. Copy members. Darrell.
Thank you. In 2013, the Town of Marathon Emergency Services Department undertook a public education campaign educating on the need for proper residential house numbering. The basis for the campaign was that it was critical for emergency service responders to be able to quickly identify civic addresses when assistance is called for, to be able to respond in the quickest possible manner in an emergency. To date, this approach has had limited success. There are still a number of residences that have small, poorly located, non-visible, or no house numbering at all. The need to have all homes in Marathon clearly numbered could not be overemphasized. Emergency service personnel need to get to a home and deliver services as quickly as possible when 911 is called. It could be a matter of life and death. As such, administration is recommending that a municipal numbering bylaw be introduced for Marathon. This approach is not meant to be punitive in nature, but to ensure proper compliance. This realistically only makes sense when the subject matter is life-saving and emergencies. Our local 911 service relies on civic addresses even if the caller fails or is unable to identify the address. Therefore, a clear, consistent, and visible numbering is required to assist emergency services personnel in responding to calls. The implementation strategy to introduce the bylaw to the resident public would include 3 components. We would start with a public education campaign through a number of different medias, including our traditional local radio and newspaper, as well as website and social media. The second would be site inspections requesting voluntary compliance when non-compliance is noted during regular duties. And the third and the last resort of a punitive nature would be enforcement and penalty for non-compliance for those residences that obviously didn't adhere to the bylaw. So there are no financial implications to the municipality, and your options are A, approve bylaw 1918 as presented, approve bylaw with changes, or do not approve the bylaw at all. And your administration recommends that option A be selected and that bylaw 1918 be adopted as presented tonight. Thank you.
Good, thanks for that. I do have a motion here. Council hereby accepts the attached report and recommendation of municipal numbering bylaw number 1918. And further that the appropriate bylaw be adopted, providing and for regulating the municipal numbering of buildings within the municipal and town of Marathon. Moved by Councillor Gingras, second by Councillor Debussy. Questions, Councillor Gingras? Councillor Debussy.
Just a note to the public, this is for your own safety, and this is for the safety of anyone who resides in your building, that you have a clearly identified number on your house, because the worst thing you want to have to happen is EMS being called and people or whoever is involved have to start counting houses from the last known posted address. So please, I mean, this is something that, you know, is just, we need to get in place so that, you know, we can effectively, you know, deliver the services we need to do, and, you know, for a health and safety issue. So please comply.
So one question in regards to the actual bylaw itself, and I didn't see where the size of the units numbers were. Is there a section there, Daryl, identifying the actual minimum size?
There is within the bylaw, and certainly what we will create, you know, if council does approve the bylaw tonight,
okay,
is we will create an information package for the public so
okay,
they know exactly what is expected in terms of house numbering.
Okay, good. Anything else? Good. Okay, with that being said, I call a question. All in favor? Carried. And there will be a bylaw following later. Thanks. Up next, we have a report on joint health and safety. Louise.
Thank you, Your Worship. Administration has been directed to review all policies in the municipality's policy guideline manual and report regularly with policies that have been reviewed. The following policies have been reviewed and revised and are attached for your information. Modified Work Program, Joint Health and Safety Policy 27. This policy was last reviewed in 2013. This policy is still valid and only minor changes are needed, which are in housekeeping in nature. The second policy is Working Alone, which is Joint Health and Safety Policy 34. This policy was last reviewed in 2013. This policy, again, is still valid and no changes are needed. Policy number 3 is the Emergency Procedures Potentially Dangerous Situations Policy, Joint Health and Safety 28, and Emergency Evacuation Plan, Joint Health and Safety 16. Both were reviewed in 2012, and upon review, it has been discovered that policy Joint Health and Safety 16 repeats what is contained in the guideline, Joint Health and Safety 28. It is recommended that policy 16 be combined with the guideline, and it's recommended that policy be combined with the guideline, with policy being deleted. Guideline Joint Health and Safety 28 is still valid with no changes being recommended. So the options are approved policies Joint Health and Safety 27, Joint Health and Safety 34, and Joint Health and Safety 28 as presented, with Joint Health and Safety 16 being deleted. Option B is approve the changes to the policies with additional or alternative revisions. Your recommendation recommends that option A be selected and that the policies for Modified Work Program, Joint Health and Safety 27, Working Alone, Joint Health and Safety 34, be approved as presented, with the policy Emergency Evacuation Plan, Joint Health and Safety 16 being deleted, and further that these policies be included in the town's policy guideline manual.
Good, thanks for that report. I do have a motion here. Council hereby accepts the attached report and recommendation on municipal joint health and safety policy review. And that policies be for modification for work program JHS 0027, Working Alone, JSH 0034 be approved as presented, with the policy Emergency Evacuation Plan JHS 0016 being deleted from that policy manual. And for that these policies be included in the town's policy guideline manual for anybody's info. Councillor Debussy, second by Councillor Gingras. Any questions? Councillor Debussy?
Back in the day, and I can't remember actually timelines, but in the SARS and the avian flu issue, there was a lot of companies or industries and companies took a pandemic plan in place. Is there such in our inventory, or would that be included under emergency procedures?
We do have a pandemic plan. It's contained within our emergency management plan.
Anybody else? No? Okay, all good, all in favor? Thank you. Up next, we just have a compliance report on the DWQMS report. Mr. Hishka, good evening.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of council. I'm presenting the 2017 DWQMS compliance report. The DWQMS, or Drinking Water Quality Management System, requires several mandatory audits and reviews to be undertaken annually and communicated to the owner of the system, in this case, council. The following documents were submitted to council for information purposes. Number one is a DWQMS Management Review 2017. The meeting minutes were June 13th, 2017. The DWQMS Infrastructure Review, minutes of the meeting held September 19th, and DWQMS Internal Audit Report 2017. Following are highlights from the information submitted. Management Review. The review is intended to evaluate the continuing suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness of the Town of Marathon DWQMS and distribution system. The DWQMS Management Review Committee concluded that, based on the information presented, the Marathon Operations Plan facilitates our ability to consistently deliver drinking water that meets applicable regulatory requirements and enhances consumer protection. Infrastructure Review 2017. Maintenance programs were discussed, and our current high level of preventative maintenance will be continued. 2018 draft budget requests were analyzed for their relevance to this review, and all planned maintenance will be accounted for at the current budget level. And an internal audit was completed May 2nd, 2017, and all corrective actions have been completed. An external verification audit was conducted October 12th, and no corrective actions were required. The cycle of audits and reviews will continue as scheduled in 2018. Full scope accreditation was originally achieved October 1st, 2013, and renewed based on this comprehensive verification audit. The current QMS certification will remain valid until September 29th, 2019. Financial implications. Budget recommendations to council are based on best practices for improvements and repair. And the report is presented for information purposes only.
Okay, any questions? Hearing none. Up next, we have the report on 2017 Schedule 22, Section 11, Annual Water Report. Brian.
Thank you, Your Worship. This following report, these reports are presented to council for information purposes. So the Schedule 22 Annual Summary Report for 2017, submitted by Northern Water, and the Section 11 Annual Summary Report for 2017, submitted by Northern Water. The annual report has been prepared in accordance with both Section 11 Annual Reports and Schedule 22 Summary Reports for municipalities of Ontario Regulation 170-03, made under the Safe Drinking Water Act. The report is intended to inform both the public and the municipal council on the operation of the system over the previous calendar year. Ontario Regulation 170-03 requires that effective steps be taken to advise users that copies of the reports are available without charge at the town office during regular business hours. The reports must be distributed by the owner to members of the council prior to March 31st, 2018, pursuant to the Schedule 22 of the Ontario Regulation 170-03. The report will be described in more detail as part of the 2017 Drinking Water System Report when it is delivered to council at a future meeting. There are no financial implications. Your administration is presenting the 2017 Schedule 22 and Section 11 annual reports for information purposes only.
Good, thanks for that. Any questions, Mr. Iska, on that one? We had no issues with our water in 17.
No issues. Those reports are, so the report is available at town office and on the website. It was advertised that anybody that was interested in reading the reports, the specifics of the water distribution system, would be able to do so by sourcing it at those locations.
Yep, no, I think we're doing good in that regards, and we really don't over the history of our community, we really haven't any major problems with our water system other than when the water system was getting switched over from a non-chlorination to a chlorination system. We seem to have had a little of a hiccup there somewhere along the way. You remember that, Councillor Debussy? Anyway, other than that, we've had a really good water in the history of our community, so thanks for that report, Brian. Appreciate that. Up next, we have a motion on the following check runs to be approved for payment. The accounts payable for the amount of $689,476.20 and payroll in the amount of $189,062.71.
Sorry, I don't know why it's playing even. Something.
This is moved by Councillor Gingras, second by Councillor Tabushi. Any questions of those check runs? Hearing none, call a question. All in favor? There must be that Alexa.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
Up next, I have a motion here on the bylaw number 1918 being a bylaw to provide and regulate for the municipal numbering of buildings within the town of Marathon. Be read first, second time. Oh, sorry. I should go to, I missed Councillor Debussy. I'm so sorry about that. I hadn't flipped my page yet. Councillor Debussy in regards to the Marathon Public Library report. Thank you.
Thank you. We have that library board meeting, some information coming from that meeting. One of the first things is there is programming available. Sorry. We had a library board meeting, and some of the information coming out of that meeting is there is programming available at the public library for the March break. One of the, I won't say sad news, because it is also good news, is the library will be closed after March the 19th, because we are getting the interior painted, and we're going to do some redecorating of the facility. It will open again on April the 4th. Hopefully the work will be done. To open again to the public on April the 4th. Again, so to call the library or check their notices on the Facebook page about what programming is available. There is a lot of activities there for the kids who are out of school this time of year. Am I forgetting anything, Becky? Okay. Yeah, so that's about the issues that we have from the library board meeting. Thank you.
Those are not issues, those are good things.
Those are great things, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
No issues at the library.
No issues at the library.
Everything's good. Okay, thanks for that report. Now I'll go into bylaws. I have a motion here that bylaw number 1918 being a bylaw to provide and regulate for the municipal numbering of buildings within the town of Marathon be read first and second time this 12th day of March 2018, finally passed. Moved by Councillor Debussy, second by Councillor Ingram. Any questions of that? Hearing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. And of course, we have a motion that reads that the bylaw number 1918 be read a third time and finally passed this 12th day of March 2018. And moved by Councillor Gingras, second by Councillor Tabushi. Any questions of that motion? Hearing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. And up next, we have some unfinished business in regards to Northern Ontario Heritage Fund project resolution. This is a motion here that council hereby accepts the attached report and recommendation of Northern Ontario Heritage Fund Corporation project submissions, and that the council hereby supports Northern Ontario Heritage Corporation application project number 8100363, Marathon Waterfront Strategic Economic Development, and any additional cost overruns associated with this project. Moved by Councillor Tabushi, second by Councillor Ginger. Any questions? This is for the
So, Your Worship, this is just a housekeeping item. So
that's for the marina though area.
this is for the waterfront project we applied for. Just in terms of the wording, for the actual legal agreement with the Heritage Fund, we have to include the words that the municipality will cover any cost overruns, and that needs to be in the council resolution that's approved.
Okay, so that was the wording change more than anything.
That's correct.
Housekeeping. Okay, with that being said, I'll call a question. All in favor? Carried? Good. Okay, we have a request here from the county of Renfrew pertaining to extension of section 22-1 of the Endangered Species Act. This was one we supported through NOMA as well in regards to the Endangered Species Act going to a longer period of time in regards to the forestry sector, so to a 5-year extension rather than 2 years. So just if you're not familiar with it, we can ask questions in regards. So I moved by Councillor Gingras, second by Councillor Debussy, that the council of Town of Marathon hereby supports this resolution and motion. Any questions? None? I'll call a question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And prior to adjournment, we do have some stuff coming up through March break, and today is the start of March break, so all the students will be home, making sure mommy and daddy are kept abreast of what their activities are. There's a bunch of things happening at the arena and the pool, and special events within that facility. So you can contact the Parks and Rec Department throughout the week and drop in and find out what some of the activities are. There's lots of little things going on for the youth, and so you can certainly drop in and participate in all those things. So it'd be nice if we can get some volunteers within our community to get back to the old days of winter carnivals. Municipality has always been there for assistance for volunteers, but you need volunteers to step forward and organize these type of events. And I'm sure that if there were individuals out there looking at helping and organizing a winter carnival type of activity for youth during the March break, that the municipality would be there 100% supporting you. But typically we don't run these events. We typically are supporters of these events. So I know other municipalities do try to still have them, but they're struggling with volunteerism as well. And that's a big thing we're faced with, not only in Marathon, but I think everywhere throughout northwestern Ontario, probably throughout Ontario, is youth and volunteerism in your communities. The volunteers of the past have given their time and their dedication over the years, and we need young people to step up to the plate. So I would encourage anybody out there to get involved in the community and start looking at these type of activities. They're fun, they're good to participate in, but you do need bodies and people to help organize and volunteer at these events. So with that being said, we don't have anything further afterwards. Anybody else has anything in regards to the March break activities? No? Okay. I do have a motion here that we adjourn at the hour of 7:31 p.m. Moved by Councillor Tabushi, second by Councillor Gingrach. Have a good evening. Thank you, and enjoy your March break.